Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a really fundamental human flaw, using the book The Optimist as our guide. It's all about our struggle to think clearly about the future. So let's start with a question we've probably all asked ourselves. Why is it so easy to ignore a little problem right now, even when we kinda know it could blow up into something huge later? The author of our source material, Beena Venkataraman, actually kicks things off with a personal story about a decision that seemed completely insignificant at the time, but ended up having massive consequences. So she was working these insane 16-hour days, goes for a hike, and afterwards notices this small, red, itchy rash. She figured it was just a spider bite. I mean, who has time to go to the clinic for that, right? So she ignored it. The rash faded, and she totally forgot about it. But then, 8 months later, her knee swells up to the size of a grapefruit. And the diagnosis? Severe Lyme disease. All because she put off dealing with that tiny little problem in the beginning. Now, this isn't just a story about one person's bad luck. It's about a cognitive trap that gets all of us. It's a fundamental part of our psychology that just locks our focus on the here and now, a lot of times at the expense of our own future. And this pattern plays out all through history. Take the residents of Pompeii. They had lived through a huge, devastating earthquake just 17 years before Mount Vesuvius erupted, so you'd think when the ground started shaking again with minor tremors, they'd be on high alert. But nope, they were largely ignored. The present felt safe enough so that future danger just didn't feel real. Well, economists and psychologists actually have a name for this. They call it present bias. And it's exactly what it sounds like. It's our built-in tendency to want the good stuff now, even if it's smaller, rather than waiting for something better later. It's the reason why we choose those delicious French fries in front of us instead of the promise of better health way down the road. So why are we wired like this? Well, a big part of it comes down to how we see ourselves over time. Think about it. Your present self is vivid, real. Your needs are immediate and concrete. But your future self, that person feels like a total stranger. Their needs are abstract, they're uncertain, and it makes it really hard to make a real sacrifice today for someone who doesn't even feel like us. An economist named Arthur Cecil Pigou nailed this perfectly over 100 years ago. He said, "We view the future through a defective telescope." It's not that we're blind to what's coming, but our mind just warps the view, making those distant challenges seem way smaller and less important than they actually are. So what happens when an entire society is using a defective telescope? Well, the consequences get enormous. The author calls our time a reckless age, and not because we're bad people, but because our power to affect the future has grown like crazy, while our ability to see it clearly hasn't. I mean, think about it. We have more data and better forecasts than ever before. We can predict the path of a hurricane, we can identify earthquake zones with stunning accuracy, and yet, when the warnings come, we just consistently fail to prepare. The danger just doesn't feel real until it's literally at our doorstep. It's really not about a lack of information. It's a failure of imagination. This man, Jay Segura, he heard all the warnings before Hurricane Katrina hit, but he said he just couldn't vividly picture it. The floodwaters rushing through his home, sweeping away his family photo albums, and an heirloom cello that had been in his family since 1890. As he said later, if he could have truly imagined that loss, he would have left in a heartbeat. And this short-term focus is just rampant in the business world, right? There's this relentless pressure to hit the quarterly earnings targets, and it forces leaders to make decisions that, they boost profits right now, but they can cripple the company's health in the long run. You see underinvestment in the very research and innovation that would guarantee its future. Okay, so this all sounds a little grim, but it raises the big question. How do we fix our defective telescopes? The good news is there are tools we can use to develop foresight and start making better long-term decisions, both for ourselves and for our society. The first, and maybe the most powerful tool, is to simply make the future feel real. As civil rights organizer Marshall Gans explains, that movement wasn't just powered by abstract ideas like justice. It was powered by a tangible, crystal-clear picture of a desegregated world. Black and white people sitting together at the same lunch counter. That vividness is what creates real motivation. And today, modern tech gives us some incredible new ways to do this. There is a study at a Stanford lab where they had people experience the future in VR. They were swimming through this beautiful, vibrant coral reef that suddenly transforms into a dead, acidic wasteland. And the result? People didn't just understand the problem, they felt it. And that made them care more and for longer than just reading an article ever could. But okay, beyond just imagining the future better, we can actually change our present. We can actively design our environments and our cultures in ways that just nudge us in the right direction, making those long-term choices a little bit easier. One super powerful psychological technique for this is creating if-then plans. It's so simple, but it's really effective. You start with your goal, then you think ahead and anticipate the specific obstacle you're probably going to face. And finally, you decide in advance exactly how you'll respond. It basically automates your decision-making, helping you bypass those short-term temptations when they pop up. And this has some really powerful real-world applications. A school principal noticed that Black students were being disciplined at much higher rates. He realized that unconscious bias was flaring up in these really stressful split-second moments, so he had his teachers create simple if-then plans, just like this one. And it worked. It helped short-circuit that impulsive reaction and led to much more equitable outcomes. We can even build foresight right into the design of our physical spaces. For instance, in a Montessori classroom, there's only one of each tool or toy. And that's not because of a budget cut. It's an intentional design choice. It forces the kids to learn patience, to negotiate, and to delay gratification. They're learning long-term skills without even realizing it. And for anyone who thinks this long-term stuff is just feel-good fluff, well, there's hard data to prove it pays off. A big study by McKinsey analyzed hundreds of companies over 15 years. What they found was that the companies with a true long-term focus didn't just survive, they thrived. On average, their revenue grew 47% more than their short-sighted competitors. That's a huge difference. All right, all of this is building to a much bigger, more profound idea. Our responsibility not just to our future selves, but to generations of people we will never, ever meet. So how can we become good ancestors? Back in the 90s, an inventor named Danny Hillis felt like our whole society had lost its ability to dream about the future. It was like people couldn't think past the year 2000. So he started this absolutely audacious project to stretch our collective imagination, the Clock of the Long Now. It's a massive mechanical clock being built inside a mountain, and it's designed to keep time for the next 10 millennia. But here's the thing. The clock isn't really about telling time. It's a symbol. It's an icon designed to force us to think on a scale that just dwarfs our own lifespans. It's a challenge, really, to create things that last, things that future generations will look back on and feel that we, their ancestors, actually did the right thing. Now, we don't all need to go out and build a 10,000-year clock to get into this mindset. We are all building a legacy every single day. The author compares these legacies to family heirlooms, things like scientific knowledge, our democratic institutions, a stable climate. These are the heirlooms that we are creating right now for the future. And that brings us to the final, really critical question. The choices we make today are actively shaping the world of tomorrow. So what precious heirlooms will we choose to pass on? What will future generations open, centuries from now, and thank us for creating, for preserving? That is something we're thinking about.